So today we'll be looking at question number um, 3. We're looking at question number 3. So basically what we are looking at here is stock valuation. So we need to understand the importance of stock valuation and its role in the valuation of dividends and how and why we use the dividend model. We're also going to embed in this the concepts of time value of money as dividend cash flows according to investors who are the shareholders. Then I want us to understand how to calculate the value of stock using um, growth phases of a company. We have startup, growth, and maturity phase. So you can compute the value of stock based on different stages of their growth. So to start with, we must understand that one of the most important tasks that you have as a finance manager, so in this case, I'll be calling you financial managers. One of the most important tasks is that of you determining whether a stock is fairly priced, whether stock is over or undervalued. So as a finance manager, you need to put things in good perspective. So you will need to understand different valuation models that are available and when to use them at appropriate times. So we, as financial managers, we need to make value for an asset. So the owner of a business in a company is a shareholder who receives a reward called a dividend. So for shares, these are the most direct forms of cash flows that are received in forms of dividends. They are periodic. Some companies may choose to pay these ones annually or semi-annually. And in this lesson, we are going to learn how to compute the value of stock in a single phase and in a multi-phase using the growth model and Gordon's model. And I'll give you the question to answer that was in the exam. So to start with, I need to understand you to understand that the value of stock emanates from our concept of time value of money. We're basically using the present value. Uh, we learned in our financial management class that time value states that the quarter today is worth more than the quarter tomorrow. And so because of interest rate or inflation rate. So you need to discount back a future expected cash flow now to understanding how much it's worth. So our formula for present value is simply the future value 1 plus r at the power n. So we can illustrate that using a number line. For instance, if you want to know now how much, if you're expecting 100 kwacha in year 1 and 100 kwacha in year 2, and now you want that money today at a discount rate of 10%. Ideally, if you add 100 plus 100, that is 200. But because of inflation, you discount this money to an amount today. So how much is it worth? You're going to divide the cash flow over 1 plus R. So our R is 10%. So 100 over 1.1 to the power 1. 100 over 1.1 to the power 2. So you first discount these figures here to understand their value today. So this is what we call discounting. We'll be using discounting for a number of cases just to understand the concept of time value of money. So the 100 kwacha in year 1 is worth 90.90. Okay. Then in year 2, what is when you compute that, what is the 100 kwacha worth? 82.64. So when you sum up 90.90, what we get is 173.5. So this is the value of these cash flows. So it comes from the principle of time value of money. So the money you expect tomorrow, if we give you now, you get it less because as we wait for that money tomorrow, are going to have a reduced purchasing power because of inflation. So dividends also work in a very similar manner. You want to calculate these tangible returns to the investors. Although prices may fall, they may rise, but dividends usually they represent the actual distribution of the profits that the shareholders receive. So we have what we call a dividend growth model, which is used to calculate the value of stock. So we have two different types of shareholders. We have preferential shareholders. We also have ordinary shareholders. But for content of this class, I'll dominate mainly on the ordinary shareholders. So the constant growth model is given by the formula D1 R minus G. So if you have a 100 kwacha now, we want to understand how much this 100 kwacha will be in year one, how much this 100 kwacha will be in year two. So this is D1, this is D2 at the same rate of 10%. So now we'll be using the formula of future value. Okay, like future value is equal to what? Present value 1 plus R to the power T. So we are simply projecting how much this 100 kwacha is worth in year one. So in this case, we use the formula D1 is equal to P0 1 plus growth to the power D0, in fact, 1 plus growth to the power T. So to know how much this 100 kwacha will be in year one, we simply put 100 kwacha, 1 plus growth. Our growth is what? 10%, 1.10. The power time is 1. So difference between 1 minus 0 is 1. So here, what we're going to get is 110. So the 100 kwacha will grow to 110 in year 1. How about in year 2? Year 2 is equal to D0, 1 plus growth to the power what? 2. So the difference in years is the power that we have. If there's D3 and 0, it will be 3. D4 and 0, it is 4. But if you have D3 and D2, the difference is 1. The power is 1 there. So here we have 100 kwacha, 1 plus growth, the power 2. So here we're going to get 121. So this is the value of stock in year 2. The shortcut is simply by multiplying each of these ones. This is 10%, just multiply times 1.1. So 100 by 1.1 is 110. And here the growth rate is still the same, 110 by 1.1, you're going to get 121. If the growth rate was 8%, just multiply by 1.08, 1.08 throughout. So from year 2 to year 3, just for sake of lessons, if you wanted to calculate the value of the dividend in year 3 using the constant growth model, just multiply 121 times what? 121 times 1.1. So you get 133.1. Okay. So this is the notion there. So we go to the question again. Suppose we're told that a stock was just paid. The word just paid means that the growth or the dividend was D0. The word just means now. So a company just paid 100 kwacha at a growth rate of 10%. The required rate of return error is 20%. Calculate the value of stock using the DDM, dividend discount model. So using this formula, it is simply D1, or D1 we calculated it here as 110 over the market rate, or the required rate of return 20%, so 0.2, and as a growth rate, which is 10%, 0.1. So when you compute that, you're going to get 1,100. So this is how we calculate the value of stock now. So this is called the DDM model. Okay, a DDM model. So sometimes you're not given the 110 there. You need to recalculate it because we know that D1 is equal to D01 plus growth. Okay, our D1 is D01 plus growth. So you literally have to calculate it on your own. All right. So let me give you a hypothetical example to just cement on what I have talked about on calculating the value of stock. Anyone behind so far before I proceed or go any further on the computation of stock using the discount model? All together? Okay. Suppose instead we have um, D0 is 80 kwacha and growth rate is 8% and market rate is 12%. Can somebody help us? How do we calculate the value of stock now? How do we calculate the value of stock? What is the formula?
Okay, good morning.
Good morning.
Okay. First of all, we need to calculate the value of D1 using the formula. D1 is equals to D0, open bracket, what 1 plus G to the power T. That's the
Okay.
formula that we're going to use.
So D0, 1 plus growth over what? R minus G. Okay. Is that clear? So how do we proceed then? We compute. Do we have calculators with us? Okay, so our D0 in this case is 80. Then 1 plus growth, so 1.08. This collectively makes our what? Our D1. Then K minus G, or R minus G. Our R is 12%, 0.12, minus our growth, 0.08. So we're calculating the value of stock now. So what answer are we getting? So I want us to move stage by stage. What are we getting? So that's the value of stock. So this is for a single phase. So now sometimes you may be asked to calculate the value of stock in a multi-stage. For the single stage, before I proceed, is there anyone lost on calculating the value of stock using Gordon's model? There's a one-stage phase, there's a two-phase stage. Okay, are we clear
It's
or
clear.
not? For a multi-stage, so suppose we want to calculate the value of stock, so we're going to combine two phases. So I'll start with this one. Suppose a dividend of 10 kwacha has just been declared, okay, with a growth rate of 8%. A dividend of 100 kwacha has just been declared with a growth rate of what? 10%, okay, for the first 3 years. That's the first growth. Then drops to 3% thereafter. So meaning we're told that the market rate is 13%. Calculate the value of stock. So I need you to, this carries a lot of marks. So using the number line for the multi-stage, for the first 3 years, it is growing at, uh, this is 1, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So for the first 3 years, what is the growth rate? This undercut will be going at what rate? 10%, right? So the shortcut for the projection of the 10%, we said you just multiply by 1.1. So 10% because the growth is 1, that's a shortcut. So here we're going to have 110. Multiply by 1.1, what are you going to get? 121. Multiply by, so we're multiplying by what? 1.1 because 10% here. Okay, 1.1, 1.1, 1.1. So it's giving us here 133.3. Now from year 3 upwards, what's the growth rate? Are you going to multiply by 1.1 after 3 years? The growth changes to 3%. So what are you going to multiply? 1 point what? 0.3 because that's 3%. Are we together? Anyone lost? Have you understood where we're getting those projected values?
Yes, we have.
Okay, so here 1.33 times 1.03 to get to a 4, we multiply by 1.03. So 1.03 times 1.33. So here we're going to get 133.33. We're going to get 137.33. Okay. So
Hello,
we,
sorry, I'm behind where you're getting the projected values,
where we're getting there?
the projected values.
Okay, so we, I think you just joined. We're just discussing to say we are using the constant growth model to say we started with 100 kwacha dividend, and the 100 kwacha is growing at 10% for 3 years. So this 100 kwacha to grow to 110, we're using the constant growth model to say in year one, the formula for the dividend we're going to expect in year one is 1 plus what? Growth to the power time. And the time is the difference in years here. So 1 minus 0 is 1. For year two, the constant growth formula is D0, 1 plus what? Growth to the power 2. Or the difference in years here is 2. And year three, the same D3, let's go to D0, 1 plus growth to the power 3. So our D0, you can tell from the question when you hear the word just declared. So our D0 is 100 kwacha for year one. So the growth rate was what? 10%. So 1 plus R is 1.10 to the power 1. So when you compute that, we get what? 110. So which is this answer here. For year 2, it's the same thing, 100 kwacha times 1.10 to the power 2. So this will give you the answer 121. But I said the shortcut for calculating that is simply multiplying 100 times 1.1, 110 by 1.1, 121 by 1.1. That's a shortcut of all this that I'm doing here. It helps you quickly arrive to the answer as a shortcut. Okay, so this is how we're getting that 133.3. Unfortunately, for year 4, we're not going to multiply by 1 point what? 1 point, we're not going to start with D0 because it's a new phase. So if you're using this projected formula, so D4 will be based on the previous year D3 because that's where it's connecting from. So D4 is equal to D3, 1 plus growth to the power 1, not the power 4, because the difference in years is what? Is 1. So we're going to say our D3 was what? 133.33. Then 1 plus growth, the growth rate is 3%, so 1.03 to the power 1. So when you compute that, we're going to get 137.33. Now, this simply tells us that if you have a multi-growth stage, you just need to know at which phase the growth is changing. So the first 3 years, so each answer you get just multiplied by that interest, the growth rate. So 1.1, we get this. 110 times 1.1, we get this. 121 by 1.1, we get this. But from year 3 to year 4, we are told that the growth rate changed to 3%. It dropped from 10%. So this one by 1.03. If it dropped to 5%, we can multiply by 1.05. 20%, 1.2. So this is how we got these values. Are we together? Is that clear?
Yes, thank you so much. Yeah, it's clear.
All right. So now we want to calculate the value of stock today. So this is just a value that helps us start. Otherwise, it's not important now where we are moving. So for the first 3 years, we're using the constant growth model. So we're going to divide our present value. Remember the present value formula we started with to say from time value of money, we say to calculate the present value, you need to bring back the future value today. So it is the future value 1 plus R, the power time. So we're going to do that for each of these cash flows up to year 3 because these ones they are bound by the DDM, the dividend discount model. So here we're going to do what? Divide by what is our market rate or required rate of return 13%. So 1.13 to the power 1. Given this one 1.13 to the power 2. This one 1.13 to the power what? 3. So I want to calculate the value of stock for the first phase here. So we'll compute them. So what is the value here? 1. What are we getting? Please help me so that we calculate the values of stock in phase 1. So we are discounting each of these ones here to today. How much is it worth? So wait, 1. What is 110 over 1.13? One ten divided by 1.13. Here we get 97.35. The second one is 121 divided by 1.13 squared. So they are getting 94.76, right? Then the third one is 1.33 divided by what? 133.33 divided by 1.13 to the power 3. So this one will give us what? 92.40. So when we add all this up, this is how we calculate the value of stock in the first phase. 94.76 plus 97.35. So here we're going to get 284.51. So that is the value of stock just for the first phase. So you get your 5 marks here. But the most part that is important is this here. So we need to calculate now the value of stock for this one here. So remember it's starting from here. So this is D0, D1. Remember using Gordon's model, how do we find the value of stock? P0 is equal to what? D1 R minus G. Remember this, right? So we are at tier 3. So this is 0 if you want. You can say P3 is equal to what? D4. Just put the next. If this is 0 here, there's 1. So it is D4 R minus G. So we want to calculate the value of stock as at tier 3. So here you're going to have 137.33. Our R in this case is what? 13%. And our growth in this phase is what? 3%, 0.03. So when you calculate that, the value of stock as of year 3 is 1,373.3. Unfortunately, this is just a value at the third year, but I want to know how much it is worth here as year 1. So this is for phase 1. The value for phase 2, we need to take it. So we discount this one by the same discount rate, 1.13, the 13% to the power what? 3, because it is at year 3. If it was at year 4, we would have discounted it from the year that we computed it. I repeat, to calculate the value of stock in the second phase, we need to use Gordon's model. because we're assuming this is year 0 and year 1. So we need to calculate the value of stock using the Gordon's model. So our P0 is D1 R minus G. So our 0 is here. So our D1 is 137.33 over the 13% minus the 3%, because in this rate is 3%. Are we together so far? So when we calculate the value of stock, it is giving us our 1,373. This is as at year 3, but we need to discount it. 1,373.3 divided by 1.13 to the power what? 3. So we're going to get 951.77. So when we add these two, 284.51, and that one we're going to get 1,236.28. So this is the value of stock for both phase 1 and for phase 2. So in that manner, we could be able now to answer the exam question in this context. All right. So we're told that MHA has just paid a dividend of 170 kwacha per share, and the company's dividend earnings has been growing at 40% per annum for the past 2 years. With the change of economic outlook of the country, the advisors have predicted the following rates in the dividend earning based on the fundamentals. So 25% per annum for the next 3 years, 15 per annum for the next 2 years, and after that, 10% per annum thereafter. Also, they found out that shareholders' RRR, which is the market rate, is 21.7% for a period now until the 5th year. Thereafter, it will change to 24% per annum periodically with the perpetuity. What is the value of stock that the investors are expected to pay? So that is 25 marks. So it is a very handful question. So you need to understand the phases that we have. Right. So what data have we been given so far? From that, let's break it down together. What data have we been given? Help me. Isolate the information that we have there. What is our D0? Do we have a D0 there? Hmm? What is our D0? 170 kwacha. And the past growth rates, we have 40% for 2 years, already reflected in the current dividend. Then we also have the future growth rates of 25 per annum for the next 3 years, that is for year 1 to year 3, and 15% per annum for the following 2 years, that is from year 4 to year 5, and also 10% um, interest rate per annum for 6 years thereafter. And the required rate of return is 21.7 just up to year 5 and 24% onwards. So we're going to use a multi-stage. So this question was handful. We'll summarize it slowly. So you can use a number line with the data that we have. Okay, so we have what? A multi-stage. So D0, we start with 170. Watch, 0 here. We have 1, 2, 3. So the growth rate is what? 25% here. 1, 2, 3. So we're going to be multiplying this one by 1.25, right? So we project it 25% as has been given. So what are we going to do there? 170 times what? 1.25. So I said the shortcut, instead of you rewriting everything, you just need to know what you're multiplying here is 1.25. If it was 20%, 1.2, 1.25, and here 1.25. Is it clear? Any questions? I'll move it together. Digest before
Yes, we
we
know.
digest. Are we together? 1.25. We're understanding what's happening here, right?